Well, good morning to you. Good afternoon for those that may catch this message later on. It is Tuesday, and you know on Tuesdays at 11:30 we go live with a little bit of motivation and inspiration. And today, last week, we had such an amazing response, And today, I just want to take this a little bit deeper. I had a couple of my big brothers, Jesse and Aunt, and a couple of my big brothers said, Tab, I need you to take the message from last week a little bit deeper. So I got in the spirit, I got in God's presence, and I said, Lord, give me a word today for the people. So I pray that I don't find myself in a position where the words don't come out right. Y'all pray for me. Keep your girl in prayer. Let's jump into this word on today. Today, we are going to be in the book of Joshua. The book of Joshua is where we're going to be. Chapter number 1, honey. And we're going to start off with the first verse. The first verse, I'm so excited, y'all. I'm trying to calm down. I'm already excited about this word. It says in the first verse of chapter number 1, the book of Joshua, it says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spoke to Joshua. Now, I want to pause right there. I don't want us to miss it. I don't want us to rush this morning. I want us to pause because I have a question. You know, last week I was talking to my men, I was talking to my women, and I want to ask this question to my men, to my Joshuas that are out there. What is God saying to you in this season? What is God saying to you? For my women that are connected to some men, I want you to go rally them up. I want you to get them in your presence, and I want you to ask them this question. Honey, love, sugar, my son, my uncle, my brother, my father, my granddaddy, what is God saying to you? There's an important question that's right here. It says that the Lord began to speak to Joshua. And I want to let you know that from the beginning of time, there was always this design, this strategy, if you will, of men and women coming together for a purpose. How do I know? I'm going to take you back to Genesis real quick. If I go back to the book of Genesis is in chapter number 1. It's in chapter number 1 where God says the first word that has ever been spoken to men and to women. It's the first word that he ever spoke to Adam and to Eve. Y'all know the story. It's after he has created and did this on the first day and created and did this on the second day and did it on the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth day. He gets to the seventh day. It says, but in this process, in verse number 28 of Genesis chapter 1, it says God speaks the first word. He says to them, he says, I need you to go, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. The first thing that God speaks when this first man has been created, that he created in his image, was to be fruitful and to multiply. Can I tell you, that tells me that the strategy that God intended was always for there to be a man and always for there to be a woman, because that physical, hey there, Eric, that physical difference of their DNA, of their physical body makeup, it requires the man to be in partnership with the woman and the woman to be in a partnership with the man so that they can be fruitful and multiply. How do I take this message and bring it back to Joshua? As I told you in Joshua number 1, chapter number 1, verse 1, it says that the Lord spoke to him. God spoke to Joshua, and he begins to remind him that there was a promise, Eric, that he had made, and that promise that he made way back to Moses, he was getting ready to fulfill it. What I want you to know, what I want to speak into you today is that from the beginning of time, God had a strategy concerning you. My men folk, from the beginning of time, there was a strategy. From the beginning, how do I know? I go back to Genesis. From the beginning of time, there was this desire for you to be in a position where you could take nothing and make something from it. From the beginning of time, if I follow it and go all the way to the book of Exodus, it's in, hey there, Lorette, in the book of Exodus, I find that this is where Moses began to lead people. From the beginning of time, to my men that are listening, to my women that are connected to the men, I need you to remind them that you were given the ability to lead. From the beginning of time, if I take it on down a little bit further from Genesis to Exodus to the book of Leviticus, there was this place where it says that God would have the tabernacle. He would allow let me not get ahead of myself. He said, I need you to be holy because I'm holy. From the beginning of time, Lorette, there was this design that God said, if if you'll stay connected to me, if you'll remember to do what I'm asking you to do, because I need you to do it a certain way. I need there to be a character on you, that I've got you from the beginning of time, from Genesis to Exodus, from Leviticus, all the way now to Numbers. Numbers is where it was that cloud. From the beginning of time, God told them that I will allow this tabernacle glory to be with you. I'll allow this Shekinah glory to be with you. I'll allow the cloud to be with you as a sign to cover you by day and to cover you by night. From the beginning of time, it was never designed for you to be in this thing by yourself. From the beginning of time, if we go a little bit further to the book of Deuteronomy, it's in Deuteronomy that he says, I give you the ability, man, to choose between life and death. Choose life. Between blessings and curses, choose the blessings. From the beginning of time, we have Joshua that now is in this position, that is walking in the steps that were laid all the way out back before he was even born, back before he even was a thought on his mama and daddy's mind. There was a promise that was made from the beginning of time, and God began to speak to Joshua, and he tells Joshua, that promise that I made way back then, you're getting ready to walk in it. So the question that I have for my men that are listening, to my women that are connected to some men folk in your life, I need you to go ask them, what is God saying to you? See, it's something important that happens when the Lord begins to speak to the men folk. He gives them the ability to make something out of nothing. He gives them the ability to lead through the wilderness and the dry lands. He gives them the ability to have this character and to operate in holiness and not step out to the left or to the right. He gives them this ability to remind them that, hey, I'm with you. You're not doing this thing by yourself. He gives them the ability to make a choice. And Joshua now finds himself having to make a choice, picking up the reins, because Moses, who taught him, Moses that changed his name, it was Hosea and he changed his name. Moses, the one that his beloved teacher, has died. And now here we have Joshua, and Joshua is the backup. And God speaks to Joshua and he says, this land, this promise that I gave to you is getting ready to come to pass. It says the land that I've given you is getting ready to be yours. Given, and I want to push that into your spirit. There's something about the tense of a word. God said, I've given, G-I-V-E-N, this land to you. I have another question that I want to ask my men folk that are in the ears of God, that are listening to his voice attentively, waiting to see, God, what is it that you're getting ready to do in this season? I want to ask you, what promises has he made? What promises has he made? And if you're not sure, I need you to get in his presence. I need you to ask God, God, what are the promises that you made before I was even in this earth, way back then, and it's time for me to walk in them? What are the promises that you gave to daddy and granddaddy and grandmama and big mama way back then, and now it's time for me to walk in them? Hey there, Shonda, what are the promises? God comes to Joshua and he says, I'm getting ready to give you the stuff. It's been given to you, all of the things that were promised. And here's where it blows my mind, because I had to research Joshua, y'all. Joshua, when I did my research, how old was he when Moses died? And he's finally the one that's next up at plate. It says when I did my research that he was about 90 years old. He was about 90 years old, Shonda. And I began to think, now how could that feel to be in a position where you're the backup and you finally get your opportunity? You finally get the promise that God is saying that he's getting ready to give to you. But he says there's some instructions, there's some strategy. He said, you're not just going to get it. Hey there, Daphne, there's some things you got to do. He says, Moses, my servant, is dead. Let's pause right there. After God begins to speak to Joshua, the first thing that he says to this man of God is, Moses is dead. And I want to speak to some people here that are listening, and you're looking at what's obvious, and you're like, I've run into a dead end. You're looking at some things going on in your finances, and it looks like a dead end. You're looking at the job that you're working on, and it feels like a dead end. You're looking at the relationship status that you're in, and it feels like a dead end. Can I tell you, the instructions were given to this almost 90-year-old man, Joshua, and it says, I need for you to go. I need you to arise and go into the Jordan. I need you to take some folks over there with you. Hey there, Broderick. And I need you to know that every place that the sole of your feet will tread, I will give it. It's already been given to you, because that was the promise. And And that's why it's important for you to know, especially my men, what has God promised to you? You see, Joshua's responsibility was not to just go by himself. It was to go gather the people. It says, go and get all the people and take them to this land that I've given to you. You've got to know the promises, men, that God have given to you, because there's some women that are attached to the promises. There's some wives out there that are attached to you walking in the promise. There's some children that you have that are attached to you walking in the promise. There's some nieces and some nephews. There's some people at your church. There's some people in your community. There's some people that you're friends with, and God is waiting for you to get up, arise, stop looking at what you see as dead, and remember that he's given you something. He promised you something. Oh, I got excited, y'all. I was reading this text. And it says that this almost 90-year-old Joshua is now in position, Broderick. He's 90 years old almost, and he knows that God has spoken to him. He knows that God is saying, look, that thing that I promised you, I've already given it to you. I want to know real quick, are there any people out here that can say, look, I'm looking at my situation, and my situation may be dead, but I'm not dead? Is there anybody, that thing just hit me in the spirit just now. Is there anybody that's looking at some stuff and it looks like you're at a dead end, and you may be like, hey, this thing is at a dead end, but I'm not dead. As long as I still got breath in my body, as long as I still got the activity of my mind, the activity of my body, I'm going to go and do everything that God told me. Yeah, I see you, Daphne. I see a yes in the chat. Is there anybody out there that says this may be dead, but I ain't dead yet? Oh, I want to talk to my Joshuas out there. I want to talk to my women that are connected to some Joshuas out there, Shonda, because I don't want you to get lost and think that it's all about Joshua. If you remember, I took you back to Genesis when God first spoke to man and to woman, and he said, I need you to multiply. I need you to be fruitful and multiply. The connection is necessary. I'm going to bring it back to you, but I need you to remember, Lorette, the connection is the partnership is a part of the strategy. It is necessary. If we go back into this book of Joshua, it says Joshua is obedient. He gets up. He recognizes that Moses is dead, but he ain't dead yet. He said, now I am in position. Now it's time for me to go and do what God is telling me to do. So Moses, it says, has died. Joshua is now in position, and Joshua goes. It says in verse number 10 of Joshua chapter 1, y'all, I'm so excited. It says, then Joshua commanded the officers of the people pass through the camp and command the people, say, prepare yourselves. He says, go, and he went to the commanders. He went to the officers. He went to the people in place. And I wanted to rush through verse number 10, but God said, no, baby, take your time. Eat on this meal, bite by bite, y'all. And I had to pause right there. I said, God, what are you trying to show in verse number 10 of chapter number 1? He said Joshua was one that had a connection with some other men. Joshua was somebody that had a voice that was one that the other leaders would listen to. He went to the officers, it says, and he begins to give them instruction. What I want to know now is, who are you in connection with? Who are you partnering with that can do some things? Who are you connected with that can move some things? Who are you connected to that understands that you have an assignment on your life? And when you begin to speak what thus says the Lord, they say, I'm listening. I don't want you to minimize that you have an audience that God has assigned to you. I don't want you to minimize that God has a group of people that are connected to you, because you are the one that has been given the promise. And if you'll walk in the promise, and if you'll take the people, and if you'll go and give the people what thus says the Lord, they'll get to moving. It says, y'all, oh, I'm getting so excited. I'm getting hot. It says Joshua in chapter number 1, verse 10, it says that he commanded the officers. He says, now I want you to go through this camp. I want you to go tell the people, prepare yourself. It goes a little bit further, and he says in verse number 11, he says, go in and possess the land which the Lord your God is giving, ing, you to possess. Now I had to pause there. I used to be a high school teacher, y'all. And I said, wait a minute, Lord, hold on. It threw me for a loop. I said, wait a minute now. In chapter number 1, in verse number 3, what the Lord said is, every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given, meaning if this were the land, if this were the promise, I've already given it to you, Billy, and all you need to do is go get it. But what I saw in this shift, when Joshua began to give the instructions instructions to the commanders, to the officers. He said, go possess the land which the Lord is giving you to possess, meaning that it hadn't taken place yet. And I said, wait a minute, that's a conflict. That's a conflict because God already said it's given to you. Go on and get it. And Joshua is now telling the people that he's giving it to you, meaning that he's in the process of doing it. But God was already saying that Joshua is yours. That thing caught my attention. And I said, wait a minute, Lord. And he said, just hold that for a moment. Put it in the side of your jaw, baby. Put it in the side of your jaw. Just hold it and gnaw on it for a moment and keep on reading. Y'all know I'm a Southern girl. I had to gnaw on that for a minute. And then I went on down to verse number 12 and verse number 13. And it says that Joshua then went to the tribes. Billy, he went to the tribes. He went to some other people that he was connected to. And he said to the people that he was connected to, he said, look, I need you to go and I need you to possess this land. And it says in verse number 15, it says, the Lord our God is giving them this land. And again, hey there, little brother McKinley, it said that God is giving you this thing. And I got thrown for a loop again. I said, wait a minute now, God. In chapter number 1, in the verse that let me go back to it, in verse number 3, because that's what I did when I was studying. I said, maybe, Mary, I missed something. I said, let me go back and let me make sure my eyes clear. I said, now verse number 3, God told Joshua, I've already given you this promise. God told Joshua, I've already given you this land. God told Joshua, I've already given you the thing that I told your parents and your grandparents that I was going to do. It's already yours. All I need you to do is go and get it. And then Joshua now has the ear of the leaders. He has the ear of the commanders. He has the ear of the tribes, and he's telling them, go prepare yourself because God is getting ready to give us something. And that's not what was taking place. So I said, God, wait a minute. I don't want Joshua to miss his blessing. I don't want him to think that he has to work and do something that's different and that there's a possibility that he won't get it. If he doesn't do something, you've already said it's his. Let me break it down to you plain like this. There's no possibility that I'm going to lose some things that God has given me because he's already said it's mine. That's why I took you back to the book of Genesis. See, we got to understand that God's voice means something. In the book of Genesis, God's strategy means something. From the beginning of time, let me remind you, he told Joshua through the form of the let's take it up to the lineage. The first man that was Adam, through the form of God, he took it up in his conversation to Eve. And he said, I need you to go be fruitful and I need you to multiply. From the beginning of time, no matter what anybody says, as people, as children of God, we have the ability to take nothing and make something. And I don't want you to get confused. I don't want you to lose that mindset that you are in a place where you are lacking. You will have no lack. That is the word of God. You will have everything that you need according to his riches. That is the lack of God. God gives us the ability to take nothing and make something from the beginning of time. That's why you had to pay attention before we got to Joshua, what was taking place in the book of Exodus. From the beginning of time, the people were given the ability to get out of the wilderness. The people were given the ability to be able to get from point A to point B. I don't know where you're at in your life. I don't know what calamity you're facing in your life. I don't know what you got yourself in and you feel like that all chips are down and that you stuck. But I tell you right now, in the name of Jesus Christ, from the beginning of time in the book of Exodus, we were given the ability to find ourselves out of the wilderness. Oh, God gave us something and we can't forget that. We can't forget it. From the beginning of time, he taught us how to be able to stay connected to him. So here we have, if I go back to Joshua is thinking that he has to do something outside of go and arise and let your feet hit everything that you want to get and I'll give it to you. That's what the word said in chapter number 1, verse number 3. And he's telling the people, I need you to go because God is getting ready. God is giving, not God is given. And I know, Tab, you're saying, baby, Tab, you're being a little anal. No. Let me tell you, words mean something. Words mean something. It says, if I go a little bit further in my reading, it says Joshua Joshua then gets in this place and he sends out 2 spies. Part of the strategy, baby, part of the strategy. This is where it's going to get real good. He sends out 2 spies. He said, I need you to go. It says in chapter number 2, he said, I need you to go and view the land, especially that part over there in Jericho. He tells them, Billy, he says, I need you to go and I need you to go check out that land that God is giving, Giving to us. He said, I need y'all to go and check out the land. It says that the 2 spies, they went to this place and they came to the house of this harlot named Rahab. Now, y'all are familiar with Rahab. Y'all, some may call her the harlot. The harlot was really nice about it. But some in the world, they would call her a madam. Not madam as in, and madam, how can I help you? But madam as in she ran the whole house. Oh, I'm going to be plain with it. Madam as the one that she ran the prostitution house. Madam as in this is the house that you would go to do what you wanted to do. It says that the 2 men go to this location, and the reason they go to this location is because this location is in a conspicuous area that's near the Jericho, which was the instructions that they were given so that they could go spy out this land. It says that they go to this area, and verse number 2 of chapter number 2 of the book of Joshua, it says, and it was told to the king of Jericho, saying, behold, men have come here tonight from the children of Israel to search out the country. And I had to pause. Y'all know what we do. Hey, that dairy, I had to pause for the cause. I said, wait a minute. This says, because words matter, it says, behold, men have come here tonight. So I said, well, who snitched? I needed to know. I started researching. And it says that the king sent to Rahab singing, bring out the men that have come to you that entered your house, for they come to search out the country. And I said, well, wait a minute, because it never talked about the men leaving because they hadn't left yet. I'm going to get you there in a minute, but just hold for a minute. Let's pause for the cause. Who was watching them? Who watched them go into this house? Was it somebody that was standing across the street? Was it somebody that was in the house and watched them come in the door? Was it Rahab possibly that went and told and said, hey, some men are here at the house? Who told the people? Hey there, Lakeisha, who told the people that the spies was at the whole house? I had to say it the way I felt it. Who told the people? The Bible is not clear, but this thing stuck with me. And I said, God, why is this thing sticking with me? It's not the house it's not that. It's not that. I said, God, who told? And God said, it doesn't matter who told. What I need you to know is that people are watching. See, that this is what I want to give to you this morning. Some of you are doing things and you're wondering why folks always got your name in their mouth. People are watching. Why folks always talking about you? People are watching. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. See, they wasn't going there doing a booty call. They wasn't going there trying to get the hookup. They was going because this particular house was close to the destination of where they were assigned to go, where the land was at. They were going, hey there, Tracy, because this particular location was one that was conspicuous. However, no matter where you at, I need you to know that somebody is always watching. And if they're gonna be watching, y'all know my philosophy, give them something to look at. Baby, it says that they were there and they were in this house. And they told the king, somebody went and told the king that these 2 spies are in this house. And the king sends for Rahab and says, come here, the folks that's in your house, the 2 men that came up in here, send them out. And Rahab now has to make a decision. Now we can already, the reason I was so plain, I wasn't being common, I wasn't being out of order. Some people can't handle it, but hey, this is who I am. The reason I didn't dress it up, she was a harlot, she was a madam, she was a prostitute, she ran the prostitute ring. The reason I didn't dress it up is because at the end of the day, what I really had to understand is that in this position, now she has to make a choice. She has to decide, do I give these men up? Because here's the thing, they coming in here, they not coming for service, they not coming to give offer no coins. What do I do? What do I do? It says when we go a little bit further, she told the people, she says, now look, they did come here. Yes, they did. They came. And right before the gate was going down, they rushed out. And if you go quickly, you may be able to catch them. It says that they went their way and Rahab had hid the men. It says, but she brought them up on the roof and hid them. And I had to pause right there. I was in chapter number 2 of Joshua, y'all. It was verse number 6. And it says that she told the people, look, they already left. what blew my mind, and I began to see now the power of when men and women come together with strategy, is this woman began, Rahab, to form a strategy. Don't be mistaken. She was a businesswoman. The businesswoman began to form a strategy. The businesswoman began to look at this thing. Wait a minute. This blessing that was given to Adam was also given to Eve. This blessing that was told that, wait a minute, he'll lead you out of the wilderness. If I make the right decision, I can get myself up out of this position where I don't have to run a whole house. See, sometimes, let me come real plain for a minute. We judge people and we don't know why they're doing what they're doing. And by the choice she made, that I'm going to give it to you in a few minutes, she didn't want to be in this position. This was her financial means of income. I'm not saying it was right. What I'm saying is she was being strategic in that moment. She took her mind back to the book of Exodus, that God gives us the ability to be led out of the wilderness. And this is a wild situation I'm in. Here I am. I want you to step in her shoes for a minute. Here I am. I run this whole house, and here these two men of God come running and knocking at my door saying, can we lodge here? I'm in the ability now to make a decision. What am I going to do? It took me to this whole commandment that was given, be fruitful and multiply. Wait a minute. Here I am. I'm in this position. If I take myself back to the book of Leviticus, where it says you got to have a character. Rahab, now let me look at my character. Wait a minute. See, the strategy wasn't just so that they could have somewhere to go, so that they could be close to the land. There was also a strategy that was set up for Rahab. Rahab now finds herself in a position where she has to think about some things. She has to consider some things. That yes, I am a harlot. Yes, I run this house right here, and I have prostitutes that come in and out, and men that come out for service. I got these two holy men that done came up in my house, and now I got to decide what I'm going to do. If I take my mind back to the book of Leviticus, and I'm going to tell you, Rahab knew what she was doing. Just hang in there for just 1 minute. If I take my mind back to the book of Leviticus, it says you got to be holy because he is holy. So now what am I going to do with this situation that I found myself in? What kind of choice am I getting ready to make? Because if I take myself back to the book of Deuteronomy, he says that you have the ability to choose between life and death, between blessings and curses. What am I getting ready to do? Rahab made a decision. She said, I'm getting ready to tell a lie, not a white lie, not a blue lie, not a green lie. I'm going to tell a whole lie. Look here, the folks done ran out. If you run, you'll catch them. And what blew my mind is Rahab also had the attention and the ear of the people that came. They didn't say, Rahab, let me check it out first. Let's go through your house. They didn't say, Rahab, no, we don't believe you. Let me go through the front door, the back door. Let's look around first. It says that they followed what she said and they left. Women of God, what are you saying? See, sometimes our history and the things that we've done and the things that we participated in also silences the voice of the woman. But can I say to my women that are on this line, I need you also to use your voice. It says, guys, as I pull this story and bring it to a close, believe it or not, it says that Joshua, let's do a quick recap. Joshua has heard the voice of the Lord, and the voice of the Lord tells him, every place that the sole of your foot will tread, I have given Given you, as I said to Moses. I got it. And then Joshua goes and he tells the commanders and he tells the tribes. It says that, look, God is giving, Giving, there's a difference, us this land, and we got to go and get it. Okay, discrepancy. I got it. And then we get over here and he says, go spy out the land. They run into Rahab. Rahab then says this to them. The first thing she does is in verse number 6, it says she brought them up. She took them to the roof and she hid them. I'll pause there. Women, I want you to hear this. She took the man of God up and she hid him. The question that I have for my women today is when a man of God comes in your presence. See, this wasn't a Boaz situation. This was a man that knew the voice of the Lord, that was executing, and he comes in your presence. Will you be the one that can take him up? When he comes in your presence, will you be the one that can cover him? See, when I go back to this, be fruitful and multiply, this whole thing beyond the thing of creating more people to populate the earth, it also says have dominion. It means that you're in charge. It means that you have power. The question that I have is, are we coming together, men and women, creating a strategy so that we can do all, hey there, Regine, that God has created us to do? This woman made a life decision and she made some choices. The first choice that she made is, I'm going to step into what I know how to do. I know how to be the woman of the world. So I'm going to lie and tell these people, go out there and go find them. And if you go quickly, you'll be able to catch them. I'm going to use what I know how to do, but I'm not going to stay there. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take these men up. I'm going to take them to another level. Now, I know the Bible says that she took them on the roof, but the question that I have for you women, hey there, Cousin Anna, is how are you taking the man connected to you up to the next level? How are you making him go up? She instructed them, go up on the roof. What are you telling your men? Go and do what God has called you to do. Go and find the thing that God has told you to find. Go and obtain the promise. Go and do all that he's given you the ability and strength to do, and let me cover you while you're going. Let me cover you in some prayers. Let me cover you with some words. Let me cover you with some. She didn't bring them down while you coming to my house. She didn't bring them down. Don't you know that this is the whole house? She didn't even bring them down. Look, if you want me to hide you, then you're going to have to do this for that. Give me some money. You know that this ain't no free. This is a business right here. It says no, 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 no. She made a choice, a transition that she decided that I'm going to do what I know that God is telling me to do. Go on up and I'm covering for you. It says that we go a little bit further, that now when the men come down, because the ones that were looking for them, they done left. I'm coming to a close, y'all. This is the beautiful part of the story. This is where I get so excited. This part right here. The men have left. She goes to the two spies. Come on down. Come on down off the roof. And she says to them, and this is where I saw why they had to go to Rahab's house. It says in verse number 9, she said to the men, I know that the Lord has given, Given, you the land. I know that the Lord has given you the promise. See, it's something about when that woman understands. She says a little bit further, she said, everybody around here is scared of y'all. Everybody around here is intimidated. She says it like this: when we think about how God has had his hand on you, our hearts begin to melt. There is favor on you. I see it, man of God. I see the promise. I know what God has given you. And all I'm asking is when you go and get what God has given to you, that you don't forget about me. She said, I got a father and I got a mother. I got some children. I got some siblings. I got some people. And when God gives you what he's already promised, I want you to remember me. See, this is where I'm coming. I'm bringing all of this to a nice close. See, I want our men to remember that there was a promise that has been given to you. I want you to get into the place and the face of God and ask the questions if you're not clear. God, what is it that you promised me? What is it that you promised me? I want the men to understand, because I know women that we rally the troops. I know that women, we're the one that say, go on and make the doctor's appointment. Get your prostate checked. I know we say, no, you know that something is going on. Get that heart checked. I know we're the ones that are rallying the men. And all women ain't speaking negative. Let me clarify, baby. There's some women out here that know how to cheer and get behind their man and encourage them. But can I tell you, when I was going through this story, when Joshua began to speak to the commanders and when Joshua began to speak to the tribes, I said, Lord, if I could have been a fly on the wall, what does it sound like when a man begins to rally up another man? What does it sound like when a man begins to say, look, that there's something that God promised us and we need to go do? I'm asking you men, I asked you last week and I'm asking you again, every man that's connected to the line. I know y'all be hitting the barber shops. I know y'all sit under the garage and drink your little beverages. I know y'all hang out and go to the football game. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I also need you men of God to speak into each other's spirit. I need you to be the one that say, brother, go and get them finances together. I need you to be the one that says, man, look, the Bible says, oh, no man, nothing but love. Get from being behind on that child support. I need you, brother, to speak to your brother brother and say, wait a minute, this whole thing is issues in the house, domestic violence going on. You got to make a decision. Don't hit her one more time. Pack up your bag if that's what you need to do. I need you to tell them, no, it's not right. Don't do that. Keep your hands to yourself. Remove yourself if the situation, if it's going to cause you to get locked up. I need you to be the brother that's speaking to your other brother and saying, wait a minute, Gan, what is it that God has given you the gift to do? What has he told you that you can do? Go on and start that LLC, brother. I'll support you. Go on and open up that business. Go on and write that book. Go on and follow your dreams. I need the men to start rallying the men, because I only can imagine what it sounds like when another man of God speaks to another man of God and gets them in position to move. I tell y'all, I was at a football game on Sunday. I'm at the game, and y'all know my little squeaky voice, and my team didn't have the ball, and I began in my little squeaky voice to say, defense. I was yelling it as loud as I could, defense, and it was just me and my little chirpy voice, and then there was a guy that was behind me, I don't know who he was, and something came, he said, defense, and when he said it, the whole crowd be defense. I said, well, wait a minute, I just said the same thing. It's something that happens that I can't deny. There's a voice, there's a sound, there's something that comes from the diaphragm, from the belly of a man. And when he begins to speak and he begins to command something, it causes people to follow in a way that I'm just not used to. And it excited me. And I said, you better call defense. And we all was saying defense. And what I'm saying to you is Joshua knew that there was something in his voice. And I'm asking my men that are watching and that will watch this later on, do you recognize the power of your voice? See, last week I asked you if you were praying. This week I want to know, what are you saying? What are you saying to the other men? What are you saying to get them in position? What are you saying to help them break the curse? What are you saying to help them get out of debt? What are you saying to help them to get a job? What are you saying to get them off of being addicts and drug addicts and alcoholics? What are you saying to let them know that you love them and that you care about them and that you've got their back? What are you saying to help them to keep the marriage together? What are you saying to help them to stop running the streets? What are you saying to help them to be a better man? What are you saying? Because your voice, man to man, matters. It makes a difference. And to my women that are watching, are you the woman that's taking him up to the next level? Are you the woman that's saying, let me upgrade you? Let me take you on up. Let me give you what God is telling me to give you. Let me shift. It ain't no exchange. Ain't nobody part no thighs. Ain't no physical contact. What I see is that there's a call on your life and I'm in position to help you out, so I will. Women, are you helping out the men that you can help? Because this strategy, this partnership, it goes together. I'm so tired of hearing the men are over here talking about the women and the women are over here talking about the men. That is not of God. From the beginning of time to the book of Genesis, we were supposed to work together. We were supposed to come on one accord. We were supposed to be fruitful. We were supposed to multiply. We were supposed to have dominion. We were supposed to subdue the earth. We were supposed to work together, and we've got to get our business in order. We've got to be the women that are taking the men on up to the next level. We've got to be the women that are covering them when they're doing what God has called them to do. We've also got to be the woman that says, wait a minute now, brother, I know what you said, but that's not what God said. God actually said that you have authority. God actually said you're the head and not the tail. God actually said you're above and not beneath. God actually said that you are a lender and not a borrower. God actually said that you shall live and not die. God actually said that everything that you have need of, he will supply according to his riches and glory. We've got to be the women that are giving the men back what thus says the Lord. We've all got to work together. See, if the enemy can get in and create division, he will. If the enemy can get in and say, ooh, I saw him over at so-and-so house, but you don't know why he was at so-and-so house. You don't know that he was on an assignment. He wasn't on no booty call. He wasn't over there trying to get a hookup. God sent him in this direction to do something, and he was being obedient. We've got to stop being insecure. We've got to stop having this thing of I don't trust. If there was one person out there that broke your heart, one person out there that didn't do what they were supposed to do. Don't you put every man in that category. Same thing from a man. If there was one woman out here that didn't do what she was supposed to do, one woman that fell short on doing what she was supposed to do for you, for the household, don't you put every woman in that category. I broke it down to somebody real plain like this. There was a time, I remember I went to one of these chicken places. I went to the chicken place. I love going to this chicken place, and the chicken that particular day was not good. What I realized is that I didn't stop eating chicken. I did go to that particular restaurant, but I found another chicken place. I went to another state one time, and I was vacationing, and I found some chicken over there. I went to the grocery store, and I bought some chicken and came home and fixed it and cooked it myself. I didn't stop doing chicken because I had a bad experience. We've got to stop giving up on people because we have a bad experience. If you're willing to do it for chicken, you can't do it for your brother and your sister. If you're willing to do it because you realize it was just that location, why can't we say it was just that man? It was just that relationship. It was just that girl. It was just her mindset. It's not every man. It's not every woman. And if the devil can get in our heads and create division where we don't see the value from the beginning of time that we had as man and woman to do some things strategically, he will win. And we cannot afford to let him win. There are children. There are blessings. Hey there, Ronald. There are promises that are going to go from our bloodline to 90 more years down the road. It wasn't for 90 years that Joshua was almost 90 when he stepped in the position to finally receive the promise. There's some things that we're doing right now that will impact children's children that we won't ever see, because we'll be dead in our graves. But what we do today matters. Hey there, cousin Francesca, what we do today matters. And from the beginning of time, from Genesis to Exodus to Leviticus to Numbers to Deuteronomy, all the way we see to Joshua, all the way from my house to your house, God designed for us to come together, to be on one accord, to listen to his voice, to take each other up to the next level, to cover one another in prayer, to make some choices that we want every single thing that he's promised. Oh, God. We've got to do better. We've got to do better. And I believe if we'll just use this good old book right here. Y'all, I'm sweating like I done ran a race. If we'll use this good book, it'll give us some instructions when life won't be so hard. Every man out there is not the Boaz. He may just be the man that God has sent your way to help you get in a different position that'll save your whole household. Don't miss up. Don't confuse the interaction. Some things are just because God assigned this person to cross your path so that you and your family can be saved. Don't make assumptions. Just because you see something with your naked eye don't mean that that's what's going on. Yes, they went to the harlot's house. You don't know where God may send you to do what he needs for you to do so that you can get what he's already given you. The promise. You don't know who you may have to interact with, so don't you dare minimize and discredit and talk about and judge and put anybody down. Yes, she was a harlot. Yes, she was a prostitute, a madam, a whore. But can I tell you, this same Rahab, her name is mentioned in the lineage of Jesus Christ because of her faith. Her faith said, wait a minute, what God said, he didn't say it to me, but I heard it. I believe it. My faith is that God has given you this promise, and I just want to be connected to it. Don't you judge what you see with your naked eye until you check in with the Spirit of God and say, God, what am I seeing? And what's going on? Ooh, if we could just get on one accord. If we could just get on one accord. This morning, I didn't have a message, and lately God has been giving it to me as he's been giving it to me. The message for today is men and women, let's get on one accord. Let's get on one accord. I thank God I have 3 sons that he allowed me to bring into this earth. Eric Alexander, Christopher Bladale. I always call him Eric Alexander because his daddy's name is Eric Toos. I normally call him Alex. So Alex, Chris, and Bladale. Those are the 3. And I give them advice. I thank God that they call mama every now and then, and then, Mom, I need some advice. I need to share this with you. But I thank God even more when I'm able to say, call Papa. Call Papa. Call my daddy. Call Edward Brogdon. I reach out to Coach Chuck, one of their previous coaches that's man of God. Reach out to Coach Korn that took them through leadership training and discipleship. I thank God that I can say, hey, call Big Brother Anthony, connect with Big Brother Jesse, that I have men, genuine men in my life, that I can redirect my young men to go get the voice of the man of God. It's not that mama's voice doesn't matter, but it's something that I know happens when my sons get the voice of the man of God. People would think when they hear me talk that I grew up with my daddy all my life. Don't wear no, Holy Spirit, don't give this, wasn't even part of the discussion, but I'm going to give it because I hear you. I found my father in my 20s. Grew up with him as a little kid, but because of divorce and separation and your daddy don't this and your all of that stuff I had nothing a part of. I did not have connection and relationship with him, access to him until in my late 20s. And like Rahab, I had a choice that I could make in the moment. I'll never forget, Daddy gave me a call. It was on Valentine's Day. And he said, I'm sorry. He said, I want to have a relationship with you. Will you let me? He doesn't know I was sitting in the parking lot of the daycare center getting ready to pick up my kids that were at that age, probably 3, 4, 5, little, whose father was absent and whose mother had been the only one up until that point saying, do this, don't do that, God loves you, be good. And I'm in this parking lot, and like Rahab, in a split moment, I had to make a decision. I didn't have time to say, Daddy, let me call you back. Let me think about it. I didn't have time to say, let me pray about it. I knew in that moment the difference between right and wrong, and there was nothing to think to pray. I knew in that moment that the good choice would be, he asked for forgiveness, accept the forgiveness, and you will have the ability to give your sons what you didn't have, what they currently don't have, access to somebody that will love them. And I said, Daddy, we're good. And from over 20 years ago to now 47, my daddy has not only access to me, he has access to all 3 of my sons. My daddy will call them. My daddy has corrected them when they're wrong. My daddy has given them advice when they've gone astray. My daddy has given them guidance on their careers. My daddy has talked to them about relationship. My daddy has had conversations with them about building businesses. My daddy has conversations with them about saving their money. My daddy has repeated things that I've said and said things from a men perspective that I could not offer. I realized that my choice in that moment was bigger than me. And what I'm saying to you is if we can get on one accord, there's some children and grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren and children that we will probably never see because we'll be long dead and gone. But if we can get on one accord, men and women, we can create an opportunity. Oh, y'all are full this morning where things can be better. My daddy has access to my grandson, his great-great-grandson. Rod, I need the men. It's not what I want. I need the men to talk to the men and speak life. Because your voice matters. And women, I don't want, I need as women for us to get in the place where we extend grace, where we don't block access. What I realized that although my daddy wasn't able to give me what I needed at that age with a do-over, he didn't miss a beat with my sons. With a do-over, he hasn't missed a beat with my grandson, his great-grandson. Women, let's not block the access. My sons have a stepfather. Some of my classmates on here, y'all know him. Lamont Williams. Mont, as I call him, isn't the father for any of my children. But during the time when we were married, and I tell him to his face, so ain't nobody gonna tell him nothing that I hadn't told him. I said, you are a horrible husband. I said, you are a horrible husband, but you are an amazing dad. And these aren't your children, these three. But you let me tell them that. You let me try to articulate those aren't your sons. You let me try to tell Mont that you can't do. Because even after we divorced, he still picked them up, took them to college, picked them up from college, brought them back home, not his kids. Even after we separated, picked him up, took him to football practice, made sure he had the stuff, paid the football dues. There's also no child support to be paid. Those aren't his kids. Even though they weren't his biological kids, got out of college, come stay at my house. We doing the graduation party. We're going to make sure you got sent off to the military. What do we need to pack up? He's getting engaged, talking about my oldest son, Alex. What do we need to do? Well, how much do we need to pay so that him and Regine can get married? We got a grandson. Bring him on over to the house. Let me see my even though we're not married and even though they're not his kids, I remember I got him a shirt. I'm not the stepdad. I'm the dad that stepped up. The marriage didn't work, but I didn't block access. Because it's one thing as the mother that brought those children into this world, when I get in that butt, it's a whole nother thing when I call Mont and Mont gets in that butt. It's a whole nother conversation that ain't none of my business because I know that he loves them. I know that he hears from the Lord. And when he says something, baby, they listen. I didn't block access. So it wasn't about us. He's remarried. I get along with his wife. It's about them. The man being able to speak into the man. And I couldn't block that. So women and men, as I come to a close, this is the longest I think I ever been on in life, y'all. Oh, Jesus. We got to get on one accord. It's bigger than us. There are promises that our entire bloodline and that we, because of our previous bloodline, have access to. They're ours right now. But we got to be on one accord. One accord. So that's my message today. Whew. Let's get on one accord. Y'all, I'm so hot. I done sweat till I'm light skinned. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Y'all know this is my lunch break. I got to get back to work. But I pray that this message, in some form or fashion, will bless you. That it will bless your family. That it'll bless your men's circles and your women's circles. That it'll bless your sororities and your fraternities. That it will bless you in some way that goes beyond you. We've got to get on one accord. Y'all, I love you. I love you. Oh, my God. Mwah. You getting two hands because I'm tired. Sweet two-handed kisses from this girl's heart straight to yours. Have an amazing rest of the day. And the Lord willing, I'm going to get me a glass of cool water. Jesus, the Lord willing, next Tuesday, we will come together again and see what the Lord has to say. Love you too, Big Brother Rod. Love you, fam. See you later, Sean. See you later, Billy. Have a great day, y'all. Bye-bye. Bye, Lorette. Lorette, you hang in here. You hung in here from beginning to end. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, y'all. Love you, cousin.